Welcome to the Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 262, Best and Worst. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live call-in show for computer repair techs. We answer your questions on running your computer repair business. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. The Computer Repair Podcast is brought to you by Kabuto, the lightweight RMM solution created for residential MSP businesses. Get your free 30-day trial at repairtechsolutions.com/Kabuto. Let me introduce the co-host. We have John Dubinsky. John, how you doing?
Mejor de lo que morisco, Jeff. And to those that are Spanish in our audience, I apologize for probably horrible Spanish. Better than I deserve, as usual. Thanks.
Awesome to have you, man. All right, let's go ahead and kick off the show and talk about maybe a tip or story that we could learn from.
Well, two quick tips. I'll start it off. So 2018, New Year's resolutions. So I guess, you do a little introspection. So, I look at myself and I decided that the biggest lie that I tell myself is that I do not need to write anything down. So at least in my business wise, we won't talk about our personal lives here on the show. But anyway, so, I always tell myself, I'll remember it. I don't need to write that down. But so in 2018, I'm trying to press on and move forward and use a note-taking app, Google Keep, just to remember everything I say and that I'm supposed to be doing. Because, I don't know, as I get a little older, I think I have CRS really bad. And I'll let people look up what that stands for. And then as a little tip, is software-wise, our friend Paco LeBron is a big fan of Microsoft Power BI, which is Microsoft Power Business Intelligence, which is a tool which allows you to aggregate data. But Paco and I were on the phone the other day talking, and we stumbled upon Google Data Studio, which is Google's alternative. I'll put a link in the show notes and into the chat for that. But if you're a G Suite user and you use Google Suites and Google Docs and you're trying to do the same thing that you would do in Microsoft Power BI, Data Studio is pretty awesome and very, very easy to use.
Very cool. So I guess, this is the time of year. My tip's going to come from a standpoint of this is the same thing I do every year in January. Right at the beginning of the year, we took a 2-week break between Christmas and New Year's and kind of took some time off, was able to get some things done in my office. And what I did was I went through another organizing spree. I took time to not only organize my office, which to a lot of people would walk into my office and say, oh, it's not that messy. To me, with all the things on the shelves and the things I have everywhere, it was very, very messy. So a lot of the stuff I don't really need up here. So I was able to take some of that stuff out. But even more than that, the biggest thing is for those that collect digital files over the years, documentation, different things that you use for your customer base, documents for accounting, bookkeeping, whatever it might be, a lot of times when we first create those digital documents, we will put them in a tree structure or a hierarchy in a folder inside of a folder inside of a folder, which seems to make a lot of sense at the time. Years later, you come back and you go, you know what? I can't find XYZ. So I'm not really sure where that's at. So you dig down folder after folder after folder and still can't find what you're looking for in a quick amount of time. So that is a big and utter time suck, which I don't like wasting my time doing that stuff. If I want to find something, I need to find it quickly. So what I did was I went through all my digital documents, well, most of them, at least on the business side and when it came to the podcasting side, and I made it to where the tree structure of my file system made sense and re-simplified it. In other words, I don't have as many folders to look in. If something is related around a customer base, I have that in a particular folder, whether it's their network or passwords at their business or whatever. I put all that stuff into one area. Same thing with podcasting. Whatever I'm doing on this show, I put everything into the same folder. Now, you would think I would have that stuff done before this, but like I said, when we first start off, it's like, no, I need to have images over here, and I need to have this type of document over there, and these Excel files over here. Well, I've come to this point this year where I'm just going to simplify everything, and that's what I did. I went through and spent probably 2 full days, probably about 16 hours, just going through this stuff and making my life a lot easier. But really, my tip is when it comes to a file structure, and those that are using Windows 10, and if you're not, get off your butt and start using Windows 10 because it's perfectly fine. Jump on in. The water is fine. What I started doing was I started making shortcuts to particular file folders that I go to all the time. Now, I'm weird. Everybody knows that because I do things that are outside the norm as far as what I've done with my files is I will put them on the start menu. And I don't mean the new Windows 10 little dinky start menu. No, when I press my Windows key on my 30-inch monitor, I have the whole window come up as my full start menu where I can see the things that I use on a daily basis. And it takes literally microseconds to push the button and microseconds to see the big fat icon and click on it and get to where I need to go right now. So this whole thing of what we all used to do back in the day with Windows 7 is you would open up the files. You might have some stuff in your taskbar down at the bottom, but a lot of times when you're looking for something, you're going through this enormous file tree if you have anything on your computer. And when you're doing that, you're wasting a lot of time. So again, my biggest tip is go and find something that's going to make your life simpler. It might take some time to set it up. Take the time to do it because the rest of the year should be a little more easygoing. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to get on with the main part of the show. Our show today is brought to you by Kabuto, a lightweight RMM built for residential MSPs that lets you easily monitor and manage devices, improve customer loyalty, and get more leads. Use Kabuto to sell residential managed services such as device monitoring, patch management, managed antivirus, and more. Kabuto detects issues for your clients and pops up a custom branded prompt so your customers can easily get in touch with you. You can easily manage your clients using the Kabuto online dashboard and add upgrades like managed antivirus and monitoring to clients' accounts. New to Kabuto is the ability to remotely access and control client devices with their latest module called Kabuto Live. It doesn't get any easier than that, folks. The new module allows you to seamlessly transition from seeing a client's request for help to launching a remote session and providing solutions. Again, the simpler, the better. Somebody contacts you, you press a button, boom, you're remoted in, taking care of the problem now. Kabuto also integrates with various CRMs and PSAs to streamline your workflow. You can sign up today for a free 30-day trial at repairtechsolutions.com/Kabuto. All right, we're going to talk about the best and worst things of 2017 or of all time. I don't know. John brought up this topic.
And well, all the other podcasts were running through the best and worst list, either the best tech or worst tech. So I thought we could put the old CRP twist on it, talk a little bit about what we feel is our best and worst, and then just maybe talk about that a little bit, get a little deeper in that.
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and kick it off, John?
We start with the good stuff or the bad stuff? You just want to mix it up?
We could just mix it up. We'll go where it flows.
All right, I'll pick an easy one, and these are in no particular order. On my best list, and this will tie into something that's also on my worst list. But on my best list, being a cord cutter and having gone through all this, I tried just about everything from Android TV to, I even forget. I've forgotten. I've tried so many devices that, I've always come back to Roku. I know Roku's been around a long time. It's not new for 2017, but it's just simple. Always works. It's easy to use. I mean, it's so easy your parents can use it. You add a side click to it, and I'll put that in the show notes, and you can power and control your TV inputs and all that right with your Roku remote. Oh,
you're all right.
Oh, I thought you were going to hold up a side click, which I should go grab mine. But anyway, so Roku is on my top best list or top list of 2017. One of the items. You got anything to add to that? I think you were pretty excited when I brought up the side click. Did you ever get one?
No, I did not. I don't use the Roku. Now, I will tell you that when we're talking about best things, I'm going to go on same type of tangent. Now, I've had a old stereo receiver that had the digital inputs for sound, whether it be the optical cables or the coaxial cables, but no HDMI support. Now, this receiver is 20 years old. It's a Yamaha. It's worked fine. I didn't want to replace it. So it's great. I got to grab 5 different controls, open this thing up, and get everything plugged into the right channels. This has got to go on this channel, and then I got to have the Xbox on another channel, and then I got the TV on this channel, and everything's supposed to work well together. And as long as you have 5 remotes in your hand, you're good. So my son one day decides he wants something that has HDMI input and output. And so what he does is he goes to the store and he buys another Yamaha receiver. And I can't remember the model number of it right now, but this thing is like super slick. Now we came home. I had to tear everything apart. We plugged everything in. He did most of the work, got everything set up. And then we were able to basically, you press a button and it'll turn the receiver on onto the channel you're on, turns the TV on, can turn the Xbox on. Now I still have an Xbox remote for doing viewing channels and stuff like that, but it works flawlessly. And whenever you're adjusting the volume, normally you would have to grab the receiver remote. Well, you can do it one of 2 ways. Obviously, there's an app on your phone because it's Wi-Fi connected, right? And or you can actually use any of your other devices, like your cable box or your television, for actually adjusting the sound, and it actually adjusts the sound in the receiver. It's really, really slick.
Very cool. Now you're a little bit fancier than I am. I just want to turn the TV on, get to the app I want to use, fire it up. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways to slay this beast, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that I thought it was great to get that in and set that up. And again, when you have equipment that's working and you don't necessarily want to replace it, you weigh those things out. What's more important? But we're really getting a lot of use out of it. And I will tell you that whatever they do for the digital sound processing, I've always had 5 speakers set up around the house or in that room for surround sound. The surround sound sounds a ton better than whatever controllers they were using in the older Yamaha. So I don't know how it does all that. It's all digital. I don't get it, but it sounded really, really good. Now,
how old's your old Yamaha?
It's probably about 20 years old.
Oh, well, you're probably digital now and digital DSP and all that kind of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a fair amount. Well, a lot of it was, using optical cables and stuff, all that was digital, but it's still going through an HDMI cable. It's amazing the sound that you can get from those cables. It really is. And it's simple.
Cool.
One cable. All right.
Can't beat that. One cable. All right. So this one, people would probably battle on me, but I'd say my best group, and I put down compliance. I'm talking about things like FIPS, FSMA, NERC, PCI, HIPAA, FERPA, FINRA, SOX, and so on forth. So, with all the pressure on the compliance, with all the news and publicity about, breaches and security and compliance, and our business owners, our customers are finally paying attention to security. Sort of, right?
Right.
Not really?
No.
Anyways, I put it on my best list purely from the fact that now we have a little bit, maybe a weapon in our arsenal so that we don't have to totally hit our knees to beg them to buy a UTM or antivirus or backup. We have a couple weapons in our arsenal to sell those things that we've been trying to sell and implement since the beginning of time. But compliance on my best list. I would knock it down to my worst list if we started to talk about the documentation of that compliance, but we'll leave that for next year.
I cannot even imagine. Now I'm going to go. So I'm going to kind of move around here a little bit, and I'm going to go on the worst list.
Oh,
yeah, I know. But this is something that's been burning in me. I just got the information, and I understand why companies do this. I do. I get it. But Carbonite has raised their prices, and some of their prices for like what I would call the residential stuff. Now, last year, the reason I go with the worst, it's not so much the pricing. I get the price increase and all that, but they took away the ability to basically have a mirror image of whatever computer with a plugged in external drive plus their backup to the cloud. Now,
talking about an image backup.
Yes.
A full image backup.
Full image. So if something happens to that computer, throw another hard drive in there, move the image back, boom, done. So not a huge deal, but I like to have information in 3 different places so that if 2 die, which has happened, you at least got a 3rd place to get the information back from. So with that being said, they changed it and now they've added on their middle tier plan where they can back up an external drive. To me, I'm like going, what does it matter? You can huge hard drives that we have in our systems, it's backing up for me anyways. I've got over 900 gigs backed up on Carbonite. What do I care? What else am I going to add to that? An external drive to back up what? So to me, it's one of those things where apparently maybe enough people weren't using that system, but it seemed simple enough and it worked that I don't understand why that company would have gotten rid of it.
Yeah, I'll put a post in the notes and all that about the plan change. They're trying to, any renewals of Carbonite Safe Plus or Safe Prime will remove the mirror image feature and replace it with automatic video backup.
Oh, that was the other thing. Yes.
And how does that even relate? We're going to dump your image backup, but we'll back up your videos now.
Here's the thing.
Not even related.
Right. And here's the thing. So for video backup, though, one of the nice little tricks that you could do is you could actually right click on a folder and tell Carbonite, back everything up inside this folder. And it would, video or whatever. So it's really a non-starter. This was for, and I get it, from a consumer standpoint, there's a lot of people out there that they're downloading stuff from their phone, cameras, video, whatever, and it's going everywhere. I find all kinds of videos and stuff on people's desktops, not put away anywhere. So now if you didn't have it backing up the desktop, which when I set it up, I do, because I know that my customer base puts a lot of stuff on the desktop. So I'll have it back up from there.
So not playing too much in the consumer realm of backup. I was going to say maybe Backblaze, because they back up everything by default, don't they? But they don't have an image backup, correct?
Nobody from the consumer side that I know of has an image backup. And again, maybe it's one of those things that a lot of people aren't using. I know there's people on this podcast that have talked about just having a cloud backup, which in my opinion, here's the thing. Let's say you didn't want to do a mirror image. I'm okay with that, but let's do a file structure backup. So now I have to go back to these customers and I've got to either I've got to download something like Acronis and have that do an automatic backup to an external drive, which I could do, or B, and I'm not sure if this is even a good plan, I could use the Windows backup, which I actually have a system that I'm testing that out on right now to see if it's going to do what I need it to do. Those are my 2 options.
Curious. I'll be interested to see what you find out about the image backup in Windows, because I do not use that either.
In the past, it was a 50-50 chance that your file, your image would not be corrupted. So the problem with using something Windows is obviously when a virus or a piece of malware is taking control of that system, it's usually messing up things in the Windows kernel, which is going to mess up the software that runs Windows. So you've got this, if everything was locked down, that's one thing, but if everything is not locked down, then you might have an issue.
I'm going to add on to that, since you're talking about changes in the industry and all that, and this is in my I don't know list. I couldn't put it under good or bad, but what about the uncertainty in our industry? And what I mean by that is the mergers like Avast and AVG, or maybe the acquisitions like Datto buying OpenMesh, and then OpenMesh Datto / merging with Autotask. And then another big player is SolarWinds buying up all the smaller RMMs, becoming this monolithic RMM provider for MSPs. I couldn't put that on my good or bad list, but I guess one, it's an exciting time to be in our industry with all of that happening, but maybe exciting could be replaced by scary, because maybe one of the partners you're dealing with just got bought or is being bought and might go away. So that's going to force changes in your business. So just something to think about. So uncertainty in our industry, same thing. Carbonite just pulled the rug out from underneath you. Now you have to find something different. So
right. Yeah, the onus is on me because it's my customer base. I've got to take care of them, even though I've been a advocate for Carbonite for years. Now, let me go in let me go on a tiny little rant. Well, that's probably not
Here we
going to be
go.
tiny because here it goes. Here it comes. So part of the problem with all these acquisitions, there's a couple reasons for this, in my opinion. It's not even my opinion. Well, we're just going to call it fact because we're going to call it what it is. A lot of people might not believe me, but it doesn't matter. It's still the truth. The truth is, a lot of us as business owners and technicians are cheap, and we have to stop being that way. So from our standpoint, we need to stop being so cheap and be willing to pay for something and be in it for the long haul, not try to save a couple pennies here or there, or jump on the next new shiny thing that pops up. That's just ridiculous. Now, from the vendor standpoint, these people, in my opinion, again, fact, truth, are leaving a lot of money on the table. And the reason I say that is, and I've heard the arguments where they go, you know what, you need to be a somewhat big player to play with the big boys, or you shouldn't be allowed. To that, I say, no, that's not the way it is. Because here's the thing, everybody starts off at a certain level, and it's usually at the beginning. And because they start off at that level, eventually most of them will get to the point where they grow and they become bigger. There's a thing out there that I don't know if I've coined it or if I've learned it over the years, and I call it the McDonald's effect. And the reason I say this is because you can take every fast food restaurant out there, you can combine their gross income all together, and it wouldn't touch McDonald's. Why? Because they were the first out there really to do what they did with the franchising and the standardization. They've got it. So everybody's always going to go to 9 times out of 10 McDonald's. Now you could argue whether it's good food, bad food, doesn't really matter. People are buying it all the time. I pass a McDonald's on the way home from work every day, and the line is packed at 3:00 in the afternoon. It's not even dinner time. It's packed. Every time I pass by there, it's packed. So part of the problem is these vendors need to start realizing that there are people out there that are going to start at the beginning level and are hopefully going to grow their business. And here's the catch. If they're already using your product and service and they're happy with what you're doing and it's serving them, they will continue to use that as they grow. But everybody is out there and they go, I want to be the person, I want to get all the big fish in this little pond instead of getting all the little fish in the big pond. All right, I'm done with my rant.
Okay. Is that the first one for 2018?
That's probably the first rant for 2018. Yeah.
I'll make a note in the show note about that. All right, so I'm going to go back to the best, get us off the negative and get us away from your rant. And I'm going to pick if I had to give awards for my best channel partner for at least the Maven group. Of course, I am the Calyptics UTM fanboy, probably of everybody. So they definitely get my partner of the year. They do the UTM/routing device in 85%, 90% of my clients. So high five to them. And then second in my list would probably be Arachnus Networks with their overseer. They've been a great partner and their equipment has been great. My honorable missions for 2018 that I have high hopes for, maybe they will take the cake in 2019, would be Malware Bytes and their cloud platform. I've started using that here at the end of last year and I really like that. Looking for great things from Ninja in their RMM as well. So you got anything to add to that list, Jeff? Best products of 2017 that you used?
I think you've hit most of the ones that are like what I would call the up and comers, the solid people out there that, again, I love the Arachnus products. It's what I use. They're solid as a rock. I have had zero issues. Man, you update firmware. It's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm like a kid in a candy store. It's like, wait, I get firmware? On a consumer end router, I never got firmware or hardly ever.
Well, and with Overseer to apply that firmware, what do you do, Jeff?
I press a button. It's so
Amen, brother. High five.
easy.
That's right.
So easy. Even a moron like me can figure it out.
So yeah, I mean, and they keep adding more and more to that Overseer. If you added an Overseer Pro device, you know, even with the basic routers that they provide right now, you're going to get filtering and parental controls and auto rebooting, and I mean, you get a lot of stuff that systems like Open Mesh managed switches, which are great, or Cisco Meraki switches, which are extremely expensive. I mean, you don't get everything that those platforms provide, but if you buy an Arachnus product, you get the Overseer Basic for free, which is pretty sweet, especially with what you're paying for it.
Absolutely. Very cool.
Yep.
So I will go and say I've got a positive product that I really fell in love with. And that was normally their stuff, I look at their stuff as junk. And that's TP-Link. And the reason I say that is because I have really fell in love with their smart switches and smart bulbs. So I got a smart switch before Christmas because, quite honestly, I was tired of walking behind a Christmas tree. I know, first world problems, and plugging in the Christmas tree lights every day or unplugging them, or even my wife was doing that. So I said, let me get a smart switch. I can just plug it in the smart switch and I can tell Alexa to turn the Christmas tree lights on or off. Plus, I can also, through my app on my phone, I can set a timer. So with that being said, because of that one smart switch product, which works, there's no hub you have to buy. So it's not like the Philips Hue where you have to have a network hub that you've got to hook into your network. I bought the studio lighting that I have in my office now, and I will actually, on the secret Facebook group, I will share that picture later. But I've got 3 lights that I was able to get, and I got the TP-Link bulbs where I can change the type of white lighting that comes out of it, the different, from 2500K to 6500K. Plus, I can turn them up and turn them down. And so I've got a light in front of me, I got a light to the right, and a light to the left. And so I'm able to basically do my studio lighting from my phone. Now, the other nice thing about this is they're all plugged into a switch that's actually on my wall. So when I walk into my office, I can, at nighttime, I can flip the switch if I want to turn the power on or off. So I've got the best of both worlds. I could actually tie it into my Alexa. I have not done that. As long as I'm able to sit at my desk and adjust my lighting to whatever I want, I'm happy.
And if you're happy, we're happy, Jeff. Yeah, it is. I'm with you. I'm usually not a TP-Link fan, but from what you said, and I mean, they got a nice selection of switches and plugs that I might pull the trigger on one of those based on your recommendation, solve some of my first world problems. Absolutely. All right, then I'm going to go negative since you went positive. How's that sound? All right. Probably the top, if I had to pick something on my list of worst items that would be number 1, I would choose Windows 10. And, it's like the girlfriend that you had in high school that was awesome some days and bad the next day, or maybe it's just me. But, I was looking through some of my tickets and all that, and I was looking at all the truck rolls that I have or calls that I have based on Windows 10 things like program suggestions, advertising, changing passwords or disabling accounts, pushing services to business users, poor patching, forced updating, all that kind of stuff. And I understand that I can take the time to disable most of these things through group policy in my larger clients that still have a server. But why should I have to take the time to do that in the first place? So there's my Windows 10 rant. It's a love-hate relationship. I know that Windows 10 came out in July of 2015. It's been a long time since the first release, but in some ways it's gotten a lot better and I do like it. But in some ways, I mean, come on, Microsoft, there's just a couple little things, especially on the business side, that you could do to alleviate some of the ridiculousness associated with some of these things.
So I'm going to go along the same lines with you, John. I've had 3 computers in this office that would not update. And I've had several clients' computers that this happened to also during the year. They would not update to the latest update. And this was not one particular update. This happened several times throughout the year. But a lot of the ones that I had that were stuck, like my bench computer behind me, it was just stuck at that point. And I basically it wouldn't let me update. It would reset, reset, reset. And so I've actually had to do, I tried to do a reset, the Windows reset. And here's where I go, everybody's going, oh, the computer business is dying. Oh, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if, people are using their smartphones and their tablets, and computers are easier to fix and all this and that. And I'm like, no, they're not, because I went to do a reset, didn't fix the problem. So Microsoft's easy button, for lack of better terms, didn't work. What do I got to do? Well, I got to have the media. Yeah. Can an end consumer download the media and install that? Absolutely. Are most of them going to want to? Absolutely not. So it's a catch-22. It like John said, it's a love-hate relationship. You love Windows 10 for the work that it's going to bring you, but you hate it because you have no control over certain aspects of it. Like, here's the thing. They're doing major updates like every 6 months.
Twice a year, baby.
So if I've got to, if once a year I have to deal with this problem where stuff is not updating, that's a lot of time. And especially when you're talking about managed services. Now, what do you do?
I'll even forgive what maybe our complaint here is about. I mean, software's hard. We're talking about what, almost 1 billion users, and patching all those different computers with hardware issues and software issues. I'll even let the the patching problems and the update problems go, just to say, hey, that's hard, and I goofed that up. But why is Cortana coming up and telling my business users to track Santa at Christmas? I've had that. So now even in my policies, I'm disabling Cortana, and I'm just, having Windows search be there. So, I get it. I like the voice assistants. Hey, Google. I hope that turns everybody's on, but, and my own, but I mean, come on, Microsoft, we're talking, give me a break. Don't make me roll a truck because you're trying to be too helpful and trying to make a couple bucks on people buying stuff, OneDrive and all that through my business users. So there's the end of my rant.
I got you. And I'll tell you, speaking of that, I'm going to go negative again.
Okay.
Sorry, John. That's just me. Negative Nelly.
We're used to it.
So last year, now I use OneDrive to share my files across several computers, because I keep all my tools up there, and it's easy to get from one computer to another, no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing. And so back, I don't know how long ago it was, back in the day, they would give you 15 gigs of online free storage using OneDrive. And they came to this point where all of a sudden they said, you know what? We're going to back that off to 5 because there's people that are somehow abusing this system. And we're going to make everybody buy Office 365, which is not a bad thing. I get it. To have a terabyte of storage. And especially if you buy the family pack, you're going to have a terabyte of storage per computer, which is great. So that's awesome there. But I'm one of those people who I actually still buy my Office professional version through my work. And so I don't really need Office 365. I replace it every 3 years or whatever it is, usually when the next one comes out. So I had to go, and I got to the point where 5 gigs was not enough to hold all the tools and stuff that I transfer between computers. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna have to bite the bullet. And I know this is a small thing. I get it. It's just annoying. It's $1.99 a month, and they only give you 50 gigs. For my purposes, it works perfectly fine. I don't need any more than 50 gigs. I probably use right around 10, and it's fine. So I just, all these little things that it would be nice for, if a company's going to give something away, at least grandfather you in. I know Google Apps did that back in the day, right?
Well, my complaint about that, and I kind of agree with your rant, is just how they make the changes. And I think Microsoft has made a lot of changes over the last year. And I can't fault them for making any of them, OneDrive being that, but, Windows Phone going away, canceling the Microsoft band and all that. But it's the way they did it. No real notice to the user. I mean, OneDrive, you got an email and all that, here it comes, but the band kind of just disappeared. Even a lot of their big partners, like HP, released a Windows Phone, and literally the next month, Microsoft said, hey, we're getting out of this business. So, and Google does that too. All of the providers do, and that will lead me into one of my other negatives. And I'm going to pick on Google a little bit here. I'm a G Suite guy. You know, it seems like most of the people I listen to on the podcast are Office 365, Microsoft. I'm a G Suite guy, but I'm going to go through my negatives on Google for the year. You know, Google, what's happening with Android Wear? I'm wearing a smartwatch. It just seems like they've totally forgot that and left it out to dry. I own a couple really nice Sony TVs with Android TV, which is literally unusable. So, you know, I disable that and plug in a Roku, really. I really like YouTube TV, but it doesn't work on half the Android TV devices that Google releases. Like, it doesn't work on the Me. It doesn't work on one of my Sonys, which is brand new. I mean, all right, Google, where's our tablets? I mean, there's no tablets left. I mean, I don't know how important that is. Maybe one to their credit that's not totally their fault would be, you know, just security on Android phones. I know they're working on a way to get everything updated and all that, but, you know, in the environment we live in today, I mean, that's pretty important. And then probably the last rant, and Jeff, you and I talk about this all the time, is why am I paying for G Suite and I can't use half the services that I can use with my free Gmail account? Now, I understand why, because there's a service level agreement that comes with G Suite. All right. And it's corporate based, and you can't just let all those things happen, you know, on a corporate network or with a corporate service. But there's an admin account with G Suite. Can't they just have a disable button if you don't want people to play in that realm? So it seems like an easy fix to me. Obviously, I'm not the CEO of Google or Alphabet, but just little old me would like Google to make a couple improvements there. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, there's it's hard to argue with free, but when you're paying for something, you're kind of like, you expect more out of that paid for product. And when you're not getting it, you're kind of like, well, why am I paying for it? I can do better on a free account. And a lot of times we do a paid account because we're using a domain and it looks more professional.
Well, here's the one that really gets me on YouTube TV. If you sign up with a Gmail account, you can share your YouTube TV account with 6 other users, which is pretty sweet. If you sign up with a G Suite account, you cannot share it at all. Although you can, it's the same thing, but you can't share it. So, I mean, it's just little things like that that are aggravating. And I could easily put Google on probably my best list as well, but just got to get those things off my chest.
I hear you. And you're right. When it comes to, there's these things that people were talking about with tablets and phones, and we've got these watches, and everything's going to make our life so much better. And so I look at these things, and they're nice. You know, I'm wearing a Fitbit, and I actually use it for tracking my sleep. Thank you, John. And it works really well for tracking my sleep, tracking my steps, making sure that I get up off my butt every hour. It's nice for that. The message is,
well, that's the only reason I wear my Android Wear watch, is one, for notifications, just so I can kind of keep track of that without pulling out my device. And, you know, I used to wear a Fitbit. I like the Fitbit. There are some things I like better about the Fitbit than I do about the Android Wear. But then, you know, you wander over to Google Fit, which is kind of the Android Wear Fitbit portion of an Android Wear watch. I mean, it's like Google has abandoned that as well.
Yeah.
So,
and let's be honest, John, the reason you actually got off your Fitbit watch was because when you gave me mine, I was kicking your butt so badly that I think you just started feeling bad.
Don't make me cry in front of the crowd, Jeff. It's true. You're true. Hey, not everybody can walk 10 miles a day. So,
well, to be fair, I do work in a factory, and it's a very big factory. So,
all right.
So yeah, as far as the TV stuff, that is another rant, and it's another thing that I don't think the problem's going to be ironed out. I really stopped watching a lot of TV shows this year, or this last year. And the reason for that is because I'm sick and tired of having to go to different apps to watch that particular show. Now, I like on demand. I don't have a DVR because I don't want to pay for a DVR, and I don't want to. Here's the problem with the DVR, especially in a family. You're downloading stuff to your DVR. It gets so backed up, and then you sit there and you got to binge watch at a certain time. I don't have that time. I want to be able to, if I want to watch a show and I've got the time right now, I want to be able to go into Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, whatever it might be, and get that programming. Like right now, I like Star Trek. Have not watched the new show purely because I'm not paying for another service. I'm not paying for CBS. Just not doing it. Hulu, I pay them money, and rightfully so, they take the ads out. I can watch it on my big screen TV, which is nice, but they don't provide the content. A lot of the good content that I like to watch has been pulled off of that over the years. It's very, very frustrating to try to figure all this stuff out. I've got streaming on my computer. I've got streaming on my television through my cable box. Neither one are easy to get to. Now, Xfinity streaming actually used to be pretty good because you could set your favorites in there, and then your favorites, when the next episode would come up, it would send you a little email and you knew it was there. You could go and take the time and go watch it. That service got changed, I think, early last year. All of a sudden, they switched that service over. I tried to stay out of it for as long as I could, and it went to, now you can search and find the shows, but there's no easy way to catalog them, make them your favorites, be notified. So all these customers out there, all these TV places out there, the people that are putting on all this stuff, it's like the music industry was. The movie and TV industry, they're just as bad right now. They don't know what to do. All I want is all my stuff in one place. And this is why I say, this is kind of a side tangent, I say the IT business will always be around, because Google, Apple, and Microsoft will never, ever, ever play well together. It's not going to.
Well, I think it's going to get even more interesting now that Disney bought Fox.
Yeah.
Has all that. So that's going to be very interesting. And, because I think that's going to pull content from everybody else. But I think that means that Disney now owns Hulu, because Hulu was wrapped up into that through Comcast and all this kind of stuff. So, you're right. You're right.
I don't get it. I'm hoping that some way down the road, they will, I will pay for a service. I will pay for it. I have no problem with that. Let me get all my content in one place. Now, I know a lot of people out there go, well, that's why piracy is so big. Again, there's so many things so many hoops and things you have to do to get that content. I don't have that type of time. I want to log into an app in my browser, click a button, and boom, it starts playing. And 45 minutes later, because there's no commercials, because I paid for the service, I'm done and on my way.
I do like cutting out the commercials. I do like that. But I digress to get off our TV rant.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my...
Thanks, Paco. Maybe another negative I'll add is breaches. Just all the breaches. And and that's an easy one. But I think what most guys, even guys in our industry, I'll put a site in the chat and I'll have it in the show notes, is all the breaches that you don't realize actually happened that didn't get all of the, let's say, publicity. Obviously Equifax, obviously Yahoo, obviously all these that are on the news. But, esports, Xbox, Arby's, Verifone. I'm just reading through this list that I put in here of a Chipotle, Gmail, DocuSign, Kmart, Washington State University, Rutgers University, University of Oklahoma. The list is, I'm still scrolling, Hyatt, eBay. All these breaches that nobody heard about. So, I guess that would be one of the worst, that maybe 2017 was the year of the breach, but I'm going to guess that 2018 is going to be even worse. And I think that, in my opinion, it's going to roll downhill. All these big targets are now going to start paying attention. So now little targets, our customers, are going to become the targets.
Here's the thing. There are two types of people in the world. There are those that have been hacked, and there are those that have not been hacked yet. There's only two types. That's it. There is no in between. None of you are safe. I don't care what you say. You're just not. Because here's the thing. Human error is the number one fallible thing that will bring people down. Now, a lot of people, there's a lot of information out there, and I try to parse through some of it. you have to protect yourself to the best of your ability. And there are things in place when it comes to credit cards and breaches and stuff like that that will protect you to a certain extent anyways. I think it's criminal that companies that are not even tied to the government, and even if they were tied to the government, like Equifax, is able to make such a gross error on their part and give our information out that we never okayed. And I'm in agreement with, as I've listened to other podcasts and stuff this last year, I'm in agreement with those. Those companies should not exist. They shouldn't be around. And we heard about it for like a month. Everybody was hot and heavy. And all of a sudden, it went away. It was all of a sudden, everybody's like, yeah, it happened. What are you going to do? People were asking me, what do I do? And I had nothing, no concrete information that I could give them. Everybody's like, yeah, I get you, make sure you red flag your credit reports. Okay, that's great. But here's the thing. What you're telling people is you're telling them there's information out there that these companies shouldn't have, yet you're okaying it by paying for their services to red flag. Now you want to go get some credit. Oh, yeah, you got to turn those off. And so now you got to pay money, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. To me, that's criminal in itself. And hopefully somebody will wake up one day and say, enough is enough, and do something about this. Whether that happens or not, I don't know.
I think this might be your third rant of 2018 already, Jeff. All right, I put a link in the Google group chat for you to look at. I want you to click on and open. You are going to play the part of technician for my next negative. All right. Uh-oh. So if you'll open that page.
All right. It's in the Google chat. I'm looking. It is open.
And it's called The Virus of Ignorance. I'm going to play me. You are going to play the technician. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hello, my internet is down and I can't figure out why. I've checked all my connections, rebooted all my machines and the modem and router, and I'm getting nowhere. Is there any known outage in my area?
The number you're calling from isn't on file. Can you call back with the number we have registered?
No, I can't. The number you have registered is internet phone service provider, voice over IP, so it doesn't work right now.
You should always be calling from the number we have registered.
But it's voice over IP, internet-based phone service. If I have no internet, I can't use that line. I didn't register this number because I normally reserve my cell phone only for emergencies and don't want surveys or sales calls coming to my cell.
Oh, we don't use it for that.
Yes, you do. I get sales calls routinely on my registered line, but that's not the point. The point is that I have no internet. Is there an outage in my area?
Nope, no outages in your area. If you call back with the registered number, we can pull up your account and see if there's a problem there.
Oh, figures. My page just crashed. Hang on. Deep sigh. Is there any other way to pull up my account? Very begrudgingly, with a lot of huffing and puffing, the technician says,
oh, your computer has a virus. You'll have to download our virus software and fix it before we can let you back online. We've been emailing you for days and have finally shut off your service until you get it fixed.
I never received an email.
We sent it to your email.
That email account. It should be obvious that I never use that because all of your billing email and other contact email goes to my primary account. My bill notifications go there. So clearly you have it.
I can't answer that, sir.
Oh, okay. Setting aside for the moment that it's going to be it's going to be a difficult thing for me to download anything since I don't have internet service.
It says here that you do, sir.
Do you have any more information than just that?
Yeah, but it's technical.
Rolling my eyes, I say, try me.
Your computer is constantly asking for an address. This means it has a virus.
Facepalm. You're receiving repeated DHCP requests because I just rebooted all of my computer and my router.
I don't see what that has to do with anything.
When you use a router, the computer behind it don't get their addresses from your servers. They get it from the router. The only device on my home network that would be asking for a DHCP address directly from your server would be the router, which means I don't have a virus. It means my router isn't working properly.
I don't think that's how it works.
All right, I'll digress from there. You get the point. And if anybody doesn't know about this site, it's called www.notalwaysright.com. They have a bunch of things like this where people post that on there. But I guess my point on this, on my 2017 list, is just crappy support from vendors. I mean, you get the idea. I think we've all had this call where it's obvious that, you know, they try to run you through everything, and the technician you're talking to actually has no idea what they're trying to support. So
unfortunately, they're just running through a computer script that tells them if customer says A, go here. If customer says B, go here. So whether they have to have technical skills to have that job is widely debated. And I would say, like John said, no, they don't.
You know, and it's just frustrating when we're trying to service a client and you call somebody and they just have absolutely no power. And in this case, even in this example, no interest in providing any help. And that's also why I picked Arachnus and Calyptix as my vendors of 2017, because multiple times they have gone out of the way when we've determined it has not been their problem to still help me solve the issue.
Nice.
So, you know, it's that partnership that we talk about of support, you know,
absolutely,
partner with your vendors part with you. So I thought that was fun.
That is fun. That's great, John. And one of the things that I've done in those particular situations is I will usually, when I've explained myself and I'm very calm and explain that with the things that I've done and what I need them to do on their end that only they can do, I have no control over that. When they want to give me the runaround, the number one thing that I do nowadays, I didn't used to always do this, I just hang up and call back somebody else.
Sometimes that's what you have to do, even if you're going to put in that queue for another 20 minutes. So.
And here's the thing, too. A lot of times when you hang up, this is generally what happens. Usually, depending on the company, you'll have a manager, supervisor call you back. Is there anything we can help you with? So a lot of times you can just wait, and it's usually no more than a half hour.
See, I've never had that.
Really?
No.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. I was surprised because I'd already figured the problem out by the time they called me back. And in this particular situation, I was wrong.
We won't mention that to anybody. We'll just keep that between you.
I say very lightly, I was wrong, but that doesn't normally happen. So I didn't know how to deal with that.
All right, I'm gonna jump to my last thing I have on my list, which I don't know how to classify, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of chatter about it. It's the hot topic right now, but it's the meltdown and what is it, Spectre problems with the Intel and all processing chips. It seems to be, you know, even in you know, a lot of the posts. I mean, there seems to be a lot of misinformation. It seems like some software is not supporting the patches that the firmware and the software companies, like antivirus software, might crash because of the patches that Microsoft is implementing. So, you know, round and round. So I'm taking personally a wait and see attitude. I'm not doing anything per se, except for keeping my eye on it. I do have a script, a link to a script that I'm putting in the chat and we'll have in the show notes. It's a PowerShell script, which you can run, which will check your PC to see if it is vulnerable. 99% likely you will be vulnerable unless you've patched. The latest patch from Microsoft is 16.299.192. If you're running that version, you should be patched against those things, not the actual hardware, but this Windows operating system. But I think that could end up being a mess, or this could end up being a mess.
Here's the thing, though. This stuff is so typical that it happens all the time like this. And most of the time, I would say, usually whatever your operating system is usually taking care of these vulnerabilities. If it's a communication problem between, or a hole between the hardware and the software. So is this stuff ever going to go away? No, I don't think so.
The one that surprises me about this one is it's a big one, meaning, you know, Intel, AMD, you know, all the chip makers, you know, this is affecting Apple, you know, all of them. And you know, and again, this is like any other security vulnerability. You know, is this actually going to be exposed or used in the real world? Is it going to affect your home PC or the computer sitting on your business desk? You know, I don't I don't pretend to have the knowledge how easy it is to implement this problem or expose this problem or take advantage of this problem. All I need to know is that I know I'm going to get a call or email to about it from my clients saying, I saw this on the news. Are we protected? How are we going to protect ourselves? So the idea is just to make sure you have awareness, have some tools maybe to check if it's important, and update your documentation and your compliance that you're aware of it and you're doing your best, and then lean on your vendors to find out what are you doing to protect me. So plain and simple.
And my concern would always be in those particular cases, all the stuff that's not being talked about, like you said earlier, there's a lot of stuff that's probably out there that we don't even realize. And again, from a standpoint of there's this thing of usability versus security. And you need to be aware that you can have the most secured lockdown system in the world. It's not going to be very usable, and nobody's going to do it that way. So you've got to be able to somehow mitigate these problems. And my understanding is with a lot of stuff, when you talk about hacks and different things that are going on, a lot of stuff you actually have to have access to the physical machine. These things of logging into stuff on the internet, online, and doing all these wonderful super hacks, that's not real life. But because of the media, a lot of times it's painted that way. So I'm with John. Yeah, definitely keep aware of it. Make sure that you're patched and do whatever you can to do, because especially when he talks about compliance, you've got to be able to document that stuff and go, hey, we're aware of it. Maybe there's not a whole lot we can do about it right now, but it is what it is. And I think as long as you're being upfront and honest about it, I think everybody will be fine. And eventually this stuff will get fixed. It'll go away. Manufacturing process. What are you going to do? Especially when it's not here.
All right. I'm going to end on a positive.
All right.
So a little bit of kudos to you on this one too, Jeff. Just the Computer Repair podcast. I mean, we had a lot of new guests in 2017. Started the Facebook group. I know we're trying to reach out to a lot of people that qualify that are not answering the invite emails. So a little heads up to all you guys that we'd love to see in the group. I think there's over 30 of us in there now on Facebook. So that is awesome. I've used that already. I've posted on a lot of stuff. So I'd love to see more guys that are in the chat and all that in that group as well. But, just a kudos to you, Jeff. Thanks for keeping this going. This has been a huge resource for me. I enjoy that I even get the opportunity to do it. Many people take what I say for what it's worth and the value you get for it, but I'm hoping I'm helping somebody. And I tell you what, I've got a lot back from everybody that listens. So I hope everybody has a great 2018, and thanks to you and all the listeners.
Well, I appreciate the stuff that you've stepped up to do, John. Number one is my co-host on the show and sharing the wonderful information you have. Again, you're always thinking, John, when he comes up with an idea, he will call me on the phone and go, hey, what about this topic for this weekend? And I might be sitting down to put my notes and stuff together. And I'm like, hey, that sounds good. Let's do that. So a lot of these ideas come from John. And even more than that, the wonderful show notes that you guys absolutely would not have if it was up to me.
I don't know about that. Anybody in the chat have anything to contribute? Best of, worst of 2017?
Yeah, definitely let us know. And I'm going to go into talking about the secret Facebook group. The way that you get into this Facebook group is basically by giving $1 per episode to the Computer Repair Podcast. And it will never be more than 4 episodes a month. So we're talking about $4 a month, whatever that is, 4 times 12, $43 or whatever. And so by doing that, you're supporting what we're doing. If we're helping you and you have the means to do it, by all means, go ahead and let us know, and go ahead and support us that way. And that will give you access to the secret Facebook group where we can share ideas in a safe place. You're not going to be made fun of. Even the simple questions get answered in a nice way. The number one rule we have is if you're not going to be nice, this is not your area. There's other places that you can absolutely do that. So we're not it. And so this is the environment that we want to keep going. And we've got some big plans for the Computer Repair Podcast over the next year. And to be honest with you, money is what makes this happen. plus it feels good to be able to, do a few things with that cash flow that comes in, buying equipment, upgrading things, doing that sort of thing. So anyways, I want to thank our newest Patreon supporters. And we also have James Pinto, who upped his pledge. Appreciate that, James. We have Lawrence Paul, brand new, and Jerry Bransfield. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to pronounce this person's name, and forgive me. I know he's in the Facebook group, so hopefully if he's listening right now, he'll forgive me. But it looks like Yonuts Sente is the name, and hopefully I went up and looked the pronunciation up on that, so I hope I got it right. But I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for your continued support. If you want to give, go over to patreon.com/computer repair podcast and go ahead and put your pledge in there, and then send me an email with your Facebook email that you use, and we will get you into the secret group. It'll give you instructions once you sign up and select that you want to be a part of the secret Facebook group. All right, let's answer some emails and take some calls. Phone lines are open. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. First email we have. Now, this is a fairly long email. Let's go through this. This email is directed primarily to Chris Crothers, but could be a topic for general discussion. About a week ago, I engaged Chris in a Facebook chat over this topic and thought it might be a good show topic discussion. I encounter QuickBooks in my business from time to time and have never had anything I couldn't deal with through some research or contacting QuickBooks support. I have some clients with QuickBooks who I support, but I don't consider myself a QuickBooks expert. I received a call the other day from a business owner in my referral group, and he said that he had a QuickBooks problem. They had been dealing with QuickBooks support for a possible corrupted file for whatever reason. It was still unresolved. He asked if I could take a look and mentioned there was some other issues to be looked at as well, as there usually is. I told him over the phone that I can help with QuickBooks issues, but that was not my specialty, and if he was okay with that, I would take the call. In the meantime, I contacted Chris and obtained information about the remote services just to have something to have in my back pocket if needed. Yeah, and Chris does the QuickBooks super support or whatever you call it. I went on to call, and from my perspective, the problem was not a technical issue, but it was more of an operational issue that was more suited to QuickBooks support or an accountant. The problem was regarding reporting of sales tax collections, which he said he was charging appropriately, but QuickBooks was not showing the transactions on his reports. I barely use QuickBooks Online in my own business, and I only use it for invoicing, but I understand the basic concept of how QuickBooks deals with taxable items, and I use a QuickBooks reporting to submit my small sales tax collections. He was using an enterprise version of QuickBooks Desktop and did not trust the cloud. And QuickBooks support had been trying to push him in that direction. After quizzing him a little bit, the whole story was that he recently purchased a business, and the QuickBooks he was using was not the original QuickBooks, but some sort of export from the original owners of the business. He and I both suspected his problems may be related to the change in ownership and the way he populated his current QuickBooks application. At any rate, I made a judgment call, told him I could help him with his other technical issues he called me about, but I did not feel qualified or comfortable dealing with this QuickBook issue because I did not feel it was really a technical issue, but more of a configuration issue that should be handled by QuickBooks support or maybe an accountant. So I guess I'm just asking what you, Chris, or anyone else would have done in this or a similar situation. I carry business general in E&O liability insurance with my business, and I did not feel comfortable with this situation. The owner was also quasi-technical former IT person. Oh, those are the worst. And it just didn't feel right. I do think it was a good exercise in conversing with Chris because I feel I have some additional leverage in the QuickBooks situations when they arise. Rod Miller. Thank you, Rod, for that email. John, what do you do in this situation when you're presented with this type of problem?
Well, I'm with Rod 100%. I mean, I'm not an accountant and I don't play one on TV, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night. So that is something I would definitely defer over to someone else that knows exactly what they're doing. I mean, in that kind of instance, I think you have to be a little bit careful because you don't want to make changes in somewhere that might affect something else. You know, things I would do in that kind of instance is you can run a QuickBook rebuild and verify of the data just to make sure there's no problems there. Just make sure they're patched to the latest version of their particular version of QuickBooks. But, beyond that, you either need to bring QuickBooks on or, just like you said, their accountant, in my opinion.
I'm surprised. Yeah. So when you're transferring that stuff over, I guess the one thing that you could have done in this particular case that again, if you're not comfortable, I'm with you 100%. Don't do it. But for those out there that maybe want to tackle something like this, what you could have done is, number one, made a backup of the QuickBooks database, number one, and file that in a safe place. Then you could have called QuickBooks support and been the go-to intermedium, because I think even though it's not a technical issue, I think QuickBooks can still support you on the side of being able to show you how to use their software properly. I know back in the day when I used to support things like Peachtree, that was the case. If they didn't know how to do something, I could call Peachtree. And because I understood the technical aspects of it a little bit better, I was able to go in and make the changes by them walking me through. Or a lot of times they can remote in and make the changes themselves. If they can fix the problem, hey, no harm, no foul. If not, you could always go back to the other database that you backed up.
Yeah, my only concern there is just make sure you're not changing anything in the books that might not have some sort of short-term effect, but might have a long-term effect. Tax percentages, accounting type, any of that kind of stuff. So absolutely.
And yeah, you need to get a lot. You're right. This is now, again, if somebody's willing to pay for my time, I might think about doing something like this. But again, they're going to be paying for a lot of time to fix this problem. Time or money, it's going to be one or the other. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to go into our second email. It says, "Hi, Jeff, not to beat a dead horse, but wondering if you guys have any new remote desktop software suggestions. Trying to tool up for my move to Nevada and need to support a few clients remotely now that I'm not down the street. I was Googling around and saw a company I haven't seen before that I would be looking into, Aero Admin. It's AEROADI or ADMIN. It is free for personal and business use with limitations. But heck, their paid versions are so cheap, I'm worried it is too good to be true. LOL. Let me know if you've heard of them. Otherwise, I will let you guys know how it goes. Here's their webpage. I also spoke to Brad about tag teaming a Sunday show and thought it would be a cool show to do. I will let you know when I'm settled into the new place. Thanks, Anthony from Remus Computer Solutions. Anthony does all those awesome custom builds, high-end builds, and they're phenomenal machines. So as far as, John, do you have any new remote software out there that you have looked at or checked out over the past year?
No, to be honest, I do not. I'm on the Aero admin website right now. I'm just looking. Even a corporate license is $130 per year, $100 per year for business. So the pricing seems pretty interesting. Like anything else, I don't have any particular suggestion on that. I've used a product called Deskroll, DESKROLL.com in the past. It's a very inexpensive remote support software, and they've done a good job. What am I using? Splashtop through Ninja right now, which I like. So, no, it just looks interesting. The page is nice. If that means anything.
I'm always a little nervous. And again, I'm all for trials and trying things out and stuff like that. And that's if it's free with certain limitations, I would definitely try that out. See if it's going to work for you. You'll kind of know even from using just the base of it. But Anthony, definitely let us know how it goes. Now, to me, I've tried a lot out there, and I still go back to, and this is a love or hate thing, but I go back to Instant House Call. It integrates with the tools that I use from TechSuite, and it just works. So I mean, it's
if I'm not mistaken, they have a very nice solo tech pricing platform too, don't they?
Yeah, it's probably still a little more expensive than Aero Admin, it looks like, but again, depending on how often you're using it, what you're using it for, is it going to fit your business model? Those are the things you have to look at. And not everything is going to fit every single business out there. You got to use what you're comfortable with. Now, when it comes to software, you either familiarize yourself really, really well with it, or when you're using it, it's the type of software that you're used to using. So it makes sense to how you operate. It's not going to be the same for everybody. So you either have to teach yourself, or you're going to find things that relate to how you do business. And that's what you have to go with. But yeah, definitely let us know how it goes. I'd be interested to know.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what success he has with Arrow Admin. It'd be cool.
All right. So last email. This is, let's see. It says, I know you promote Ninja, but has anyone on the team had any experiences with Atera? I'm looking to make the switch from Ninja and was looking at other options. Thanks. Todd Harris. John?
Well, my first question would be is why you're leaving Ninja. That would always be a curious question to me. If he'd get back to us on that, maybe he knows some secrets we don't know. I got to be honest. I probably can't speak to Atera. I trialed Atera. Got to be over a year ago, so I don't think it's fair to comment probably on what they're doing now. I mean, if you look at their features and their pricing, RMM, PSA, remote access, flat rate pricing. I mean, the most expensive they get per month is $150 per month for unlimited endpoints. Now, you do have add-ons for antivirus backup, all that kind of stuff, but which is pretty standard with everybody. But I mean, from just looking at paper technician pricing and the features they provide, if it provides what you need at the price point you want, it's an interesting option for sure.
Yeah, I think you really got to figure out. Here's the thing. I was having this conversation. I'm going to go on another rant. Here it goes.
This is number 4 already. You do understand that.
Okay. So I was having this conversation with my wife, and we were talking about pricing. I did some adjustments in my pricing this year, and maybe we'll talk about that on another show. But the bottom line was, I was asking her about one of the flat rate prices that I provide here if you bring your computer to me. She said, well, one of the things she said, very smart woman, she said, did you check the people in the area, what they're charging? And I didn't, because, again, I have this sarcastic attitude that says, here's what people do generally. They will give you a flat rate price, which is not really a flat rate price. It's like, if you only do this, but here's the reality. We can't really do this without doing this, and that's going to be this price, all three added together. So in my opinion, I don't care about marketing, all that kind of stuff. That's disingenuous. I don't care how you slice it. I was talking to Paco the other day, and the omission of a lie is still a lie. So, or omission is still a lie. So anyways, when I look at that stuff, I was looking at the pricing out there, and you've got to kind of compare apples to oranges. So when you're looking at what you're going to be spending from one product to another, there has to be a technical reason for me to switch. Like, something is absolutely just not working. It's not going to do what I need it to do for my customers. It can't just be a price-based thing, because a lot of times what's going to end up happening is, once you do switch over, and John will be the first one to attest to this, a lot of times you're going to look and you're going to go, man, yeah, I thought I was saving a bunch of money, but the price is very similar, or it's costing me more time over here, or this or that. So you've really got to weigh these options out before you jump ship. And I am fully aware not every piece of software out there that's made is going to be for every single business owner, technician. I get it. And that's perfectly fine. We want competition in the workplace. That's what we want. But you have to weigh some of those options out. John?
No, I totally agree. And I would suggest for guys like us running our technology or IT businesses, RMM is probably one of the biggest things. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that guys like us make is not doing just a little bit more due diligence before you jump ship or move or choose a product. I mean, the great thing about Atera is it's an all-in-one platform. And just when you read through the features list, it's pretty amazing. but do you actually know how those features work and what the add-ons cost? Like Atera has a great integration list, including email security, online backup, antivirus. I think they're one of the few RMMs that integrates directly with 99 Pro, which is very nice. IT Glue, Warranty Master. But yeah, you're paying $150 a month on the Max platform, but how much more are you adding for all of these devices? Where maybe with Ninja, it might overall cost less, depending on the number of endpoints you have. I'm not saying that it's true with Ninja, but I'm just saying, just make sure you do a little bit of due diligence before you jump ship to that new shiny object, just like you were saying, Jeff.
And here's another thing too. Here is a tip that people can use. And that is, and here's generally what I do. Most people have, especially when you're in this business, you have more than one computer set up. And what's really great is you have usually a spouse or maybe your kids who have computers. And what you can do is when you go to trial some of the software out, you can basically put this product on each of these computers because these are real world testers. In other words, they're doing the things that might get a regular end consumer in trouble all the time anyways. So it's a perfect scenario for you to test and use it on your own system. Hey, is this going to work for me? Is this going to, am I seeing problems where it's going to come up and it's going to nag me, it's going to bother me, it's not running right, it crashes, whatever. And try that out and then kind of get a feel for how it's going to work. Go in and do a fix on those computers. Do some automated stuff. This is the due diligence part that, again, sometimes you have to take a step back and say, you know what? I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to actually do some work inside my business, not just run around putting customers' fires out all the time. Those fires will always be there. And I get it. A lot of people are like, well, I got to get paid. Yeah, okay, that's fine. There's many ways to get paid. But at the same time, you need to take the time to be able to better yourself in your particular business.
And the last thing I would add to that is anytime you're checking out on any product is make sure that you contact whoever is supposed to help you. I mean, the support of that product, meaning your RMM platform, is very important because if something goes wrong and that's your lifeline to taking care of your clients, make sure that your partner is there to support you as well. And that could be a big part of the price that you're paying if you're paying more over somebody else.
Right. Exactly. Very good, John. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and end it off there. If you want to give us a parting thought and let people know where they can find you at.
High hopes for 2018. I hope everybody had a great Christmas and New Year or whatever they celebrate this time of year. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody through the Patreon Facebook group. And that's about it. Mavengroup.net. Thank you.
Awesome, man. All right, come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/Computer Repair Podcast Live. Join in on the conversation by calling in live and hanging out in the chat room. You can also send an email to podnutz@podnutz.com, or you can leave a voicemail, which we will play on the air at 1-888-697-0162. We have audio available over at podnutz.com or subscribe using your favorite podcatcher. You can be notified when the show is live by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Computer Repair Podcast. I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast.